For over a decade, there has been a quiet but consistent pattern playing out every time a disruption hits supply chains. The same shelves get cleared, the same items vanish within hours, and the people who prepared using the same widely shared advice find themselves staring at empty store aisles, wondering what went wrong. The truth is, when everyone follows identical advice from identical sources, those exact items become the first casualties of any panic. What actually survives every shortage are the items nobody thought to put on the standard list in the first place. These are 11 of them, all affordable, all genuinely useful, and all still sitting on shelves long after the chaos begins. The first one sounds unusual at first, but the logic behind it is undeniable. Miso paste is fermented soybeans that have been aged for months or sometimes years. It is packed with protein, rich in probiotics, and carries something most shelf-stable foods completely lack: enzymes and amino acids that the body can absorb almost immediately. That matters more than most people realize because stress shuts down digestion. When things go wrong, your body needs nutrition it can actually use, not just calories it struggles to process. 1 teaspoon dissolved in 8 ounces of hot water creates an instant meal base that requires almost no cooking fuel. Add whatever else is available: dried vegetables, noodles, an egg, and it becomes something your body and your morale can actually work with. A 1-pound container costs around $8 at any Asian grocery store and contains roughly 30 servings. It lasts indefinitely in the refrigerator. Not months, indefinitely. Containers that are 5 or 6 years old are still perfectly usable. And the reason it stays stocked during shortages is simple. It is not on the standard prepper list, so panic buyers walk straight past it. The second item is tahini, which is ground sesame seeds pressed into a dense paste. This one solves a problem that almost every amateur preparedness plan ignores entirely: dietary fat. When someone stocks up on grains and canned goods, they are loading up on carbohydrates with almost no fat. The body does not just prefer fat, it requires it. Without adequate fat, a person gets cold more easily, mental clarity drops, hormones stop functioning correctly, and overall resilience collapses within weeks. Cooking oil goes rancid quickly. Butter requires refrigeration. Nuts are expensive and also go rancid unless frozen. Tahini, unopened, lasts a minimum of 2 years at room temperature, and indefinitely once opened and refrigerated. 2 tablespoons mixed into plain rice turns it into a complete meal with meaningful protein and fat. It can be thinned with water and salt into a sauce. It can be eaten straight from the jar. A 16-ounce jar costs around $7 and contains roughly 26 servings of calorie-dense nutrition. It sits untouched during shortages because it lives in the international aisle, and panic buyers simply do not think to go there. Third is dried seaweed, specifically nori sheets or wakame. This is about micronutrients, and it addresses one of the most overlooked risks in any prolonged emergency: iodine deficiency. The thyroid gland depends on iodine to function. Without it, fatigue sets in, body temperature drops, cognitive function slows, and the immune system weakens. Iodized salt helps, but in a situation where food is bland and salt usage is minimal, it is not enough. 1 sheet of nori contains more iodine than most people get in an entire week. It also carries iron, calcium, and vitamins that are nearly impossible to find in typical shelf-stable foods. A sealed package of dried seaweed lasts for years. A pack of 50 nori sheets costs around $5 at any Asian market. And the reason it stays stocked during every shortage is that most people have no experience buying it, and therefore no instinct to panic buy it. Fourth is bouillon cubes. The inexpensive kind from the dollar store, not premium organic stock. This one is about something that does not show up in nutritional charts, but matters enormously in reality: morale. Food monotony creates psychological stress faster than almost anything else during a prolonged emergency. After several days of eating plain rice and beans, even well-prepared families start to break down emotionally. Children refuse to eat. Tempers shorten. Motivation collapses. One bouillon cube dissolved in the cooking water for rice or beans changes everything. It transforms the flavor profile completely, and the brain responds to that shift in a measurable way. It registers as a real meal rather than survival punishment food. A box of 30 cubes costs about $3 and flavors enough food for 4 people per cube. That is effectively 120 servings for $3, a value that no freeze-dried emergency food can come close to matching. Fifth is nutritional yeast, which is deactivated yeast fortified with B vitamins. Before anyone dismisses this as a niche health food product, consider what B vitamin deficiency actually does to the human body. It causes nerve damage, extreme fatigue, memory problems, and emotional instability. B vitamins degrade in canned goods and are absent from rice and beans. They are one of the most critical micronutrients and one of the hardest to source from a typical emergency pantry. 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast delivers more than 100% of the daily requirement for most B vitamins. It tastes like a combination of cheese and roasted nuts, which means it makes bland food genuinely palatable. It can be sprinkled on rice, pasta, popcorn, or anything savory. A 1-pound bag costs around $10 and lasts for 2 years sealed, longer when refrigerated. It stays stocked during shortages because it lives in the baking aisle and most people do not know what it is. Sixth is vinegar, specifically white vinegar in bulk and apple cider vinegar as a secondary. Vinegar does not just last a long time. Due to its high acidity, it prevents bacterial growth entirely, making it effectively permanent. But the real value here is the range of jobs it can do simultaneously. It is a disinfectant, a food preservative, a cleaning agent, a deodorizer, and a flavor enhancer. Vegetables quick pickled in a 50-50 mix of vinegar and water with salt last for weeks, without refrigeration, and retain crucial vitamins. During a heat wave or extended power outage, that capability becomes extremely practical very quickly. A gallon of white vinegar costs about $4. A bottle of apple cider vinegar costs around $5. $9 total for a supply that functions across cooking, preservation, cleaning, and sanitation. It survives every shortage because people categorize it as a condiment or cleaning product and never think to stockpile it. Seventh is dried mushrooms, particularly shiitake or wood ear varieties available at Asian grocery stores for under $4. What makes dried mushrooms special among shelf-stable foods is their vitamin D content. The body normally produces vitamin D from sun exposure, but during a crisis involving extended time indoors, winter conditions, or chronic stress, vitamin D deficiency arrives quickly and brings depression, immune suppression, and bone loss with it. Shiitake mushrooms dried in sunlight naturally accumulate vitamin D, and 1 ounce provides roughly 20% of the daily requirement. Beyond nutrition, dried mushrooms carry intense umami flavor that transforms plain water and basic ingredients into something that genuinely satisfies. They rehydrate directly in cooking liquid, adding both flavor and nutrition simultaneously. A 4-ounce bag costs about $4 at any Asian market and contains enough for 15 to 20 meals. They stay stocked because most mainstream shoppers have never purchased them and have no instinct to reach for them during a shortage. Eighth is powdered milk, the shelf-stable variety sold in boxes or bags in the baking aisle. Calcium and protein are genuinely difficult to source from typical shelf-stable foods, and their absence creates real physical consequences: weakened bones, muscle cramping, and nerve dysfunction. 1 cup of reconstituted powdered milk is nutritionally equivalent to fresh milk. The key mental shift is to stop thinking of it as a substitute for a glass of cold milk and start thinking of it as a cooking ingredient. It works in oatmeal, coffee, soups, sauces, pancakes, and mashed potatoes. A 25-ounce box costs around $8 and makes approximately 8 quarts of milk. The reason it stays available during shortages is that most people believe it tastes bad and therefore never buy it, which leaves it sitting untouched in the baking aisle long after every other dairy option has disappeared. Ninth is fish sauce. A single bottle of fermented anchovies pressed into liquid costs about $4 at any Asian market and lasts indefinitely at room temperature, because its salt content is too high for anything to survive in it. 1 teaspoon added to a pot of rice, soup, or beans delivers concentrated umami that signals protein and amino acids to the brain, creating a sensation of richness and satisfaction that plain food simply cannot produce. In a prolonged emergency where the diet consists mostly of bland carbohydrates, that psychological signal matters more than most people appreciate. The body begins craving certain flavors because those flavors historically indicated nutritional completeness. Fish sauce delivers that signal in concentrated, shelf-stable form. It survives shortages entirely because most mainstream shoppers have never purchased it and walk past it without recognition even during panic buying. 10th is full-fat canned coconut milk, not the sweetened variety in cartons, but the unsweetened version sold in the international aisle. A single can contains approximately 800 calories, almost entirely from fat, and lasts for years on the shelf without refrigeration and without going rancid. When a diet consists primarily of rice and dried legumes, calorie density becomes a critical problem. Those foods are bulky, and a person can only consume so much volume. Without adequate fat, the body runs cold, energy drops, and weakness sets in faster than most people expect. Half a can added to a pot of rice while cooking makes it creamy, rich, and significantly more calorie-dense. It works equally well in soups, curries, and even oatmeal. At roughly $2 per can, it delivers 800 calories for what amounts to pocket change. It stays available during shortages because most people only buy it for specific recipes and have no habit of stocking it. The 11th item is salt, purchased in bulk quantities, not a single container. A 10-pound bag minimum, ideally 25 pounds, stored in a sealed container. Salt is the oldest food preservative in human history. It is essential for basic physiological function, and it literally never expires. But the reason most preparedness plans underestimate it is that they only think of salt as a seasoning. In reality, salt preserves meat and vegetables, enables rehydration drinks when illness causes fluid loss, can be used to clean wounds, and becomes a critical electrolyte supplement in hot conditions where sweating increases sodium loss significantly. The body cannot function without adequate sodium. Confusion, weakness, nausea, and eventual collapse follow sodium deficiency, and those risks increase substantially during physical stress or heat exposure. A 25-pound bag costs about $8 at a restaurant supply or bulk store. It does not go bad. It does not lose potency. And it was fully available during every major shortage in recent memory because panic buyers were grabbing retail-sized containers and leaving bulk quantities untouched. The pattern across all 11 of these items is the same. They are affordable, they are genuinely nutritious, they have practical uses that go beyond a single purpose, and they consistently survive every shortage because they fall outside the standard list that everyone reads and everyone follows. The people who navigate disruptions most effectively are not the ones with the most supplies. They are the ones who thought differently about the problem before the problem arrived. Starting with a single item from this list this week and adding another the following week is enough to build a system that actually functions when it is needed. That incremental progress, repeated consistently, creates real security without requiring a warehouse or a large budget. The goal is not perfection. The goal is being genuinely prepared when it counts.